So, what would be your specific play style with this agent? And yeah, like that ultimately would tell me why you like this dude over a lot of other people that you're able to pick now. All these duelists.
Okay, that's a great question. So my play style, like I like to entry, but at the
Mhm.
same time, I don't want anyone else near me. Like we were talking before, like during the break.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Valoranting, the show where everything is made up and the points don't matter. I'm Mitch Leslie here, of course, of Vansili and Veli. And if you got that reference, you're a boomer just like me. We can commiserate later on.
The best
For
show.
now, though, I mean, we're hyped today, right? Patch notes drop, new agent in the game. And to help us sort of pass out a little bit of what to expect from Yoru, we are joined by Heather Garosso, otherwise known as Sapphire, who's been a pillar, I guess, of the industry, involved in tax shooters so deeply for so long. Heather, so great to have you along. Thank you for joining us. And I mean, you've been getting to grips already with Yoru. We'd love to know some of your initial takes.
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for having me. It's exciting to be here. I'm always tuning into the show, and yeah, it's great to be
Nice.
here. I'm
Let's
excited to
go.
talk Yoru. I was very fortunate that I was invited to the initial, I guess you call play test this week. Didn't play as much as I could. I also work for Dignitas, and we had a bit of a massive rebrand straight in the middle of that.
Congrats
So
on that, by the
Yes.
way. Congrats
Yes.
on
thank you.
that.
back.
I
Ziggy's
love to
back.
see that.
Oh,
Yeah,
feels
yeah,
good.
yeah,
It feels good.
yeah.
So, that's exciting for the Valorant community too. But
Yeah.
yeah, I got to dabble with a little bit of Euro here. Um, from I love his kit, by the way. Like it's super interesting. Definitely outside of the box. When I first saw something like Fake Out, I'm like, oh, is this going to be like a decoy and CS? Where obviously in CS:GO, it's just a dead giveaway when someone's got
Yeah,
a
yeah.
decoy. No,
Yeah.
no one's buying it unless you got $50 at the end of the half, and you're like, might as well. But you're not buying it. um, Fake Out is great in that you can activate it from far away, and I love that. Like just that split second of the enemy just having to think like, oh, is that really an enemy here, or should I be over rotating?
Mhm.
In the few game play tests I got to play, we were able to pull out a lot of fakes, and it is a fake out. Um, and
Is
it
there
was
is there a
great.
timer on that? Is there a timer on
Um,
on placing those
This
on
is
the
just when they
ground?
hit the wall.
I don't think there was a timer on it.
Mhm.
I ran pretty far away from it, and you could activate it. I think it's very similar to like Killjoy's range, and how far she can be to activate her. I don't know. I don't even play Killjoy, but the
Her
Molly
Nanoswarm,
nanoswarms?
type of
Yeah, her
thing.
nanoswarm. Yeah, yeah.
nanoswarms.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got it, I got
exactly.
it.
So that was interesting.
That's pretty good
Um,
then.
yeah, and then
Uh,
Um,
yeah.
how did it feel? So obviously you guys you played it a little bit. How did it feel to play against? Do you feel like you
yeah.
you were sort of bamboozled by abilities like Fake Out, right, and the footsteps? Do you feel like you were in some positions where you're like, oh, I can't believe that I fell for that?
Yeah, definitely, embarrassingly so. Especially the ultimate dimensional drift. There obviously is an audio cue very similar to Omen when
Mhm.
when he teleports. Um, but Omen, it's like he's either right behind you or
Mm.
he's not, and he's far. With dimensional drift, there's a little circle range where someone could hear you, and if you're outside that range, there's
Oh,
there's no sound cues. So there were
Okay.
I had
definitely
no idea.
yeah, there were definitely people shooting me in the back of the back of the head far too many times than I want to admit.
Do they at
Um,
least hear you coming out of it? Even if it's not in the circle?
Yeah, I
I'm
think
getting very technical here, but
I think there is a bit of an audio cue. That's right. But yeah, that I think the ultimate combined with gate crash. So gate crash is his
oh
tether.
yeah. Yep.
That's like my
So good.
favorite part. So you can drop a tether. Let's just say we had bind open here. You drop a tether in showers,
Yeah.
and then you do dimensional drift, and you run out, and you can get all the way from showers to spawn, defender spawn, kill the person rotating, and immediately click your E again and tether back
That's
to showers.
crazy.
That's actually
That's
very
my
huge.
favorite part. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is my question, and this is for everybody too. Like, do you think that he might be a viable option over Jet? Especially the simple fact that he has a flashbang as well. That's
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
pretty intense.
Yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
honestly, I was trying to think like who does this replace on the duelist front, and um, Jet kind of seems like the one that makes the most sense. Where
Mhm,
you're scouting for information, but you can quickly get out too.
mhm.
That yeah, I could see that.
My original thought was that Yoru could probably replace somebody like Raze on situational maps, especially again I've mentioned it before, but somebody like Sabrosa, somebody like Relics also likes to play a lot of lurk, especially on Ascent as Raze when they're always working towards that B main side. So having an agent like Yoru instead, so that Jet could continue on focusing on getting entries and getting op kills as first bloods, then she could focus on that while the other ones could continue to lurk and be the backstab. Because I think the role of the lurk for Yoru at this time too is when your teammates fully die, you also have to be the clutch player, and I think Yoru has a great kit for that as well.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that, and you've got a nice little entry there with the blind side. So yeah, there's a lot of potential with this agent. I'm actually really looking forward to Yoru combined with Omen. I think
Oh
that's
gosh.
a fun little combination. Well, I don't know if anyone's gonna play Omen anymore. I know there's some nerfs today,
That's it.
which
That's
is
it.
which is sad
Mhm.
as an Omen main myself.
So how about this? This is kind of like a personal question, right, Heather? So if do you love him over a lot of other agents? That's kind of like the first part of it.
Yeah, I think so. I
You
think
think so?
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what would be your specific play style with this agent? And yeah, like that ultimately would tell me why you like this dude over a lot of other people that you're able to pick now. All these duelists.
Okay, that's a great question. So my play style, like I like to entry, but at the
Mhm.
same time, I don't want anyone else near me. Like we were talking before, like during the break, I said I like almost entirely play solo queue. My friends are either radiant or they're silver. There's nowhere in between. So I just play solo queue by myself. And when you're in ranked, like you get some questionable teammates sometimes. I
Yes.
don't want
Sure.
anyone near me. I just want to do my own thing. And I
Heather doesn't
think
like hugs.
no hugs, no touching anything. Um, so this kind of, I can sell my own fake with fake out. I don't have to rely on my
Mm.
teammates. I got my own flashes. I can escape easily. That's why I love Yoru. He's the agent for me.
I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like out of the box, he has a ton of utility. You being able to sell fakes, can create entries. How do you feel about there being another agent with a flash in the game? We heard from the competitive design team from Valorant, they were like, we like flashes. We think it's really important to try and, for
See.
attackers to be able to peek into some of these
Mhm.
scenarios and win. How do you feel about another Flash being here? I know there was a bit of furor about Sky having another Flash back when she was out, and here we have another one that works even differently with the bounce.
Yeah, and I mean this one's interesting too. Like you can't really you can't stop it like Skies. Skies obviously can shoot out, and
Mhm.
there's some really quick flashes you can do, almost like pop flashes, because you've got by the time it hits a wall, you've got about 1 second until it pops, which kind
Mhm.
of gives me like CS:GO vibes again coming
Yep.
from there. Is like I can do
Yep.
these nice little pop flashes, like bounce it off the ground right around a corner, and no one's going to be able to react to that. So that's
Mm.
that's a super annoying when you're playing against it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm certainly not a game designer, but it would be nice to think of like other like entry mechanics,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
instead of more flashes. But
Yeah.
again, for
Yeah.
people like me that probably not playing on a team anytime soon. I'm just playing ranked. But, really, most people are playing ranked. Most people aren't playing competitive. It's nice to have your own little kit where you don't have to rely on everyone else.
Yeah.
No, I
Maybe,
think
yeah,
even
maybe the next one will use the bloody doorbell to
Yeah.
get into these sites. Who knows?
No, and I think even when we watched the developers Twitch yesterday, and there was actually some more gameplay of Yoru. One of the entries was him running up towards the A ramp of Split and bouncing on the ground, so it bounces up towards the ceiling, so it doesn't affect him, and it could keep running. So I think, as you were saying, pop flashes for yourself. I think one of those could be the good thing. And talking about the kit, and also being able to play test so far here, Heather. When we talk with the developers, or when we listened to the developers talk yesterday, they were saying how Yoru is probably the agent where they probably had the most fear of backlash by releasing this agent, because one, more flashes, but two, you're now adding invisibility and vulnerability at the same time too as an ultimate, and there might be some backlash as how OP he could be. But after playtesting it a couple of times in the last week, do you feel that it's as broken as or could be broken, or is a broken agent, or is he really in a good spot off the release?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I will say, it's kind of hard to judge in terms of like these influencers events that I was a part of. Like, it's a very mixed bag of skills. You're not
Hmm.
necessarily
Hmm.
grouped with people anywhere remotely close to your skill level for good or bad.
Hmm.
So it's definitely hard to judge based on the few games I played. I think always there's going to be a little bit of imbalance, especially just because people
Yeah.
really don't know what to expect off the bat. But we look at an agent like Sky, and I don't know, she's not being used necessarily too often that I see in
No.
in pro play. So it seems to be
Right.
fairly balanced there. Unlike maybe a breach when he got his,
The
his
extra
kit
flash.
improved there. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, hard to say. Right now, I think it's gonna seem OP at first, just given all the confusion of noises and sounds and
True.
knowing where people are. But very similar to like Sky, like you're kind of able to catch on to it eventually.
Awesome.
Heather,
True.
sort of shifting our focus a little bit now, I don't think it's a stretch to say that, you're a big part of the reason that we saw observing in Counter-Strike really level up, and we started to really revolutionize the viewing experience in no small part thanks to yourself. And it's great to have you involved in that side of things in Valorant now.
Hmm.
You've spoken recently to sort of journalists about your experience observing Valorant. I have also, of course, I've come from CS and Overwatch. Quite a few of us come from other games, and we're adjusting to the pace and sort of the cadence of Valorant. I just want to get an overarching idea of your approach as an observer when you start working with Valorant. What feels like the biggest differences to you as opposed to Counter-Strike, or the biggest things that you had to adjust to observing this new game now?
Sure. I think one of the difficulties as first was observing using pictures of the agents.
Yo.
In Counter Strike,
Yep.
we've got 1 through 5 and 6 through 0, and it was very easy. Just your fingers know exactly how to react to the radar. Um, this has changed obviously in the last like 2 months, I think, since first strike. But
Hmm.
previously we had to use the portrait. So if you've got a jet on both sides, your hand knows
Mm,
that jet is on 6, and you might just automatically just click that because you have to be really fast. We got to make split-second decisions, and oh shoot, it's supposed to be the other jet. The good news is that Riot has been fantastic about taking a lot of feedback from observers from the community to improve the observer features. And now a lot of the features are even better than exist in Counter Strike. For example,
Mm.
there's something that we kind of call observer follow, and this is very similar to CS:GO's interactive caster. So I can be
mhm.
in the game, and a producer can be thousands of miles away on a computer, and they can also be in the game. And in Counter Strike, they select to watch the observer, the auto director, which is
Yep.
actually observer.
Spectator,
Yeah,
spectator.
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it follows the movement. Well, in Valorant, we actually have like, I don't even know, is it 12 spectator slots? I don't know how many spectator slots there are now, but the
I think it's
producer,
12. Yeah.
thousands of miles away, can select any of the 10 observers in the game and follow their feed. So it gives you an opportunity for so many different
Mm.
angles, and it's great for remote production, which we all have to do these days. Um, so they've done a good job there. But then back to the actual game itself, like it's very hectic. It's very hectic. There's a lot going on, and in Counter Strike, you need to know the maps and the angles. In Valorant, you need to know the maps and the angles and the abilities,
Hmm.
and the abilities obviously at a very difficult layer. You have to know when ultimates are about to come up. You have to be very tuned into the audio cues of when someone's doing an ultimate. So there's a lot to think about. So it's as important as ever to play the game if you want to be observer. Play the game, know the abilities, know what to expect, and I guess the one up from that is knowing the players that you're observing too, understanding their tendencies. Stewie 2K and CS:GO is the best example of why you should know a player's habits, because he is known for running through smokes. Usually observers see smokes as walls, and no one's going to go through that. Stewie 2K goes through that, and now it's important that observers in Valorant start to understand the habits of the top players.
Awesome. And I think to continue with the observing as well, Heather, because now we have a lot of, aspiring casters that are trying to get into Valorant. We have a lot of aspiring observers that are trying to get into Valorant. Shout out again to V-Flight and Yeti that's doing their work too, alongside you and Prius. But as we say that we come from different backgrounds, so Overwatch, PUBG, Apex, Fortnite, Rainbow Six, how does one start as well for observers? You said playing the game and everything too, but is there some sort of guide of like the basics that they could actually follow? Because I know Prius has his DMs open, but where can you direct them for all these resources?
That's a good question. It kind of doesn't exist yet, which is a bit sad, and it's always a project I've wanted to take on. But that there should be an observer school, I guess, an observer Bible of what to do. A lot of it just comes down to practice and watching your demos back, looking at the Twitch chat to see how many tutors are in chat. That could be usually an indication if you mess something up. But
do you watch the chat?
That's the worst.
Do you actually watch Twitch chat while you're working?
I try not to. I try not to.
Yes.
You have a resilient mental. I'm so impressed.
I was gonna say it's the same thing when you're casting too. It's like we do a strong effort to like avoid Twitch chat so it doesn't fuck with our minds when we're actually trying to find the words and cast. So
if I'm casting with someone and they have Twitch chat open like next to them, I'll clip them behind the ears. And I'll kick them out my booth. I'm like, you're not bringing that into my house right now. I cannot do that.
I'm a maniac. I love it. Bring it.
See, nah, man, I can't. On the desk, I have no issues, but I think when it comes down to like casting for sure, it's like I can't deal with Twitch chat because I'm so focused on like if I look at Twitch chat for like 5 seconds, I miss everything in terms of a color caster of a set strat, especially in a game like Valorant that has so many abilities. But definitely, I think if you have to rely, Heather, on Twitch chat to know if you're doing well or not, and you're observing, that's a fucking
that's thing. You're doing a good job. You're doing a good job is when no one says anything about this. No news is good news. Don't say anything, and then we're doing great.
God. It seems like the art of observing is even more apocryphal than the art of casting. There's like a little bit of resources out there for casting, but observing it feels so intuitive. It feels so experience-based. It feels so trial and error. Things you just pick up over time that like no one wrote the book on it. It's not like, observing and how to spell it. It's the top seller on Amazon now. Like,
oh my God.
It doesn't exist yet. So
I know exactly what book he's talking about. And I'm looking at it now.
Yep. No one wrote the book on observing. So, I mean, getting these insights is really good. We've got a little bit of time, Vance and Veli, for a couple more questions before we wrap up and move on. So fire away.
Oh,
Billy, go ahead, man.
I'm done. This was really informative. I never got into the road of observing. So, Heather, like honestly, like when talent announcements come out and people go crazy for the casters, I'm the one that goes crazy for observers. So get shit.
You know what?
You
they don't do enough of those.
They don't. Why don't they do that?
Yeah, right. We're kind of like directors. Yeah,
right.
I
see Heather's fucking face on all the graphics and everything. Like, come on.
I mean, she can take my panel in the announcements. That's fine. I don't need to see my mic.
No, the worst like Heather's there's like 10 observers, and we're all named, and I'm a little more known than some people. Okay, I do a lot of events, but someone messes up, and they're like, "Oh, Sapphire again." Typical. It's like I'm just sitting over here, like typing in Twitch.
You're like drinking a coffee, watching the stream.
Oh my God!
Molding you in chat. You're not even doing it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Now your name is associated. I mean, that means your name is synonymous with observing. In Valorant or Counter-Strike. So we take the good with the bad a little bit, you know.
If anything, Heather, your name is now associated with the Hall of Fame as well. So congratulations on that too, being inducted into the Hall of Fame with the SFI.
Yeah,
and
that was a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right. So like,
I don't know.
what's-
Someone sent my invitation. I don't know. It should have gone to Vancilla. You've been around for a long time. I think that was
man, I've been on
yours.
and off.
But
No.
yeah.
I've been on and off. You've been grinding the whole time, and you've been a pillar into like exactly going into how to observe and being a pillar of how we observe Counter-Strike for today. So definitely well deserved. And we want to know. Actually, I want to know what's next in store for Heather at the same time too, with everything going on with Dignitas and everything going on with First Strike, Valorant, and even CS.
Yeah, I certainly keep busy. I do love esports, so that means I can't sleep. But yeah, we're doing exciting things at Dignitas. We built a beautiful facility, and then COVID happened, so we haven't been able to use it. Someday we've got some really cool streaming boosts from there, and I'm going to start to get into more streaming. But we've got a lot of exciting players and teams that we're bringing on. Our women's Valorant team is now dedicating almost all of their time to Valorant and less of CSGO, which is
awesome.
which is very exciting for them. And then on the observing front, I take whatever work I can get. So I've got some CSGO at the end of the month, which I can't say yet, and I've got some Valorant early February.
Sounds like blast.
And as we talked about, I've always wanted to do the school of observing, and years ago I used to think like I got to protect these secrets. These are
So I
important.
want to train my
These
successes.
are important. But I realize there's far more events out there than there are good observers, and I'd love to share my knowledge with the world. So someday I'm going to sit down and write the book.
Heather, it's okay to say just how far ahead you are right now. And
that was so
silly. I
was going to let that slide.
Oh man.
Heather, thank you so much for joining us. Before we wrap, there any shout outs you want to give? You mentioned streaming. Where can we find that stream when the time comes for you to get more involved?
All right.
In that?
Well, yep. Twitch.tv/Sapphire. So actually after big events, for example, First Strike, I did pull up those VODs and analyze those on stream from an observer perspective, which probably no one else is doing. So if you like that kind of stuff, then you can find it on my stream.
Definitely.
Heather, so great to have you here. Good luck, of course, with your events coming up as well. And we're thankful to have you involved in Valorant as well, and you staying involved in Counter-Strike to keep leveling the observing game up. What a pleasure to chat with you.